Eu dei nothing.
Hi everyone and welcome to KRYPTALK, that Irish guy that talks about Bitcoin. In this episode we're going to take a look at how Bitcoin miners lost out in the month of September. We're also going to take a look at a warning against the stock to flow model, and finally take a look at how Bitcoin has hit another record. So if that sounds good to you, just keep watching. Let's get started. Sorry, I nearly forgot. Make sure you watch the video right in the end because I'm going to be doing a little charity event. This is episode number 16, and the title of this episode is Bitcoin World Record. But first, a quick look at the charts. Alright, let's get the basics out of the way. So this is the Kraken chart. These are 4-hourly candles and Bitcoin is trading at $10,604. I haven't adjusted these lines at all, these two blue lines, because I spoke about this in the last episode because Bitcoin was forming a descending, broadening channel. So here we have the resistance line going one direction, and then we have diverging away from it, you have the support line. The reason I haven't moved these yet is because I want to see if the Bitcoin price is going to come up here, and if it does so, is it going to break out through it and hit the targets that I mentioned in the last episode, or is it going to reject it and head down towards the bottom? So I still think this could be a descending, broadening channel. Just a quick look at the targets that I mentioned in my last episode, and then you just add it to the point of the breakout, which if it broke out there would be there. And then it's just a case of looking at what does that put us at. That puts us at 14,000. Now switching to the daily chart, I just want to take a look at three technical indicators. Okay, the first one is the RSI, or Relative Strength Index. So it's a number between 0 and 100. Typically when it's up closer towards 100, that means Bitcoin is overbought and due a correction. And when it's lower down towards 10, say, or towards 0, it is oversold and due a pump. So right now it's sitting just under 50. So Bitcoin basically it's undecided. It doesn't know where it's going to break to the upside or break to the downside. The second technical indicator that I want to take a look at is the Bollinger Band. So this is this green wave that I can see here. That we talk about this a lot on this channel. So what you can see here is the basis of the Bollinger Band. Bitcoin is currently trading today here and for the last few days underneath it, which is a bearish sign. And finally, the third technical indicator I want to take a look at is this EMA ribbon here. You can see it represented by yellow, orange and red, and Bitcoin has been trading underneath that as well. That tends to be a bearish indicator as well. Now I'm just going to go ahead and remove these. Now what that leaves behind is the descending, broadening channel which I'm talking about here. But there's also, you can see a consolidation pattern occurring here. So if I just take a line out here, and let's just say we move from the bottom point here up as far as here. Now taking a look at this consolidation pattern, and what I'm talking about, see these blue dashed lines here. I haven't forgot about the descending, broadening wedge. I'm going to come back to that temporarily, but just have a look at this first. So the top line, the resistance line, is the same. You have a high point, a lower high, a lower high, a lower high, and then here you've got a low point, a higher low, a higher low. Now they're due to intersect these two lines on the 15th of October. So by mid-October, one of these lines is going to be broken. Either it's this resistance line up top and Bitcoin should maybe break up above, might necessarily be an explosive breakout, but it should start gradually trading above, or the opposite could happen, it could break down here. Now that's a fact. That's a fact. By the middle of October, one of these lines is going to be broken unless it goes straight across, right through the middle, which is highly unlikely. No one could make that shot. If this was to break down, then you're talking about it could head down towards it to close that CME gap because we're very, very close to it. Or it could simply break out here before October 15th and straight to the upside. Because remember, these descending, broadening wedges, statistically, probability-wise, they break to the upside 80% of the time. Now, personally, if I was given the choice, I'd prefer for it to be rejected here, go all the way down here and touch the bottom, close the CME gap, pick up some cheaper Bitcoin, and then move to the upside. But there's a lot of ifs there. Again, this is, if I'm not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor, but when you're looking at these charts, I'd like to go with, I'd like to make my trades or my purchases of Bitcoin based on actual probability and something like so. 80% of the time these descending, broadening wedges do break to the upside, but it's not guaranteed. So there are two possible scenarios that could happen. Okay, so this is week number 5 of my dollar cost averaging experiment. And what I'm doing is every episode, for 10 episodes, I'm buying €10 worth of Bitcoin. And at the end of the 10 episodes, I'm going to see if it's in profit or if in lost. So my investment will be 100. We're going to see if it's up or down. So this is week number 5. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. But before I do, I just want to let you know on something else I'm doing. At the moment, I'm on 111 subscribers. I'm trying to push ahead, and my next target is 200. So if you know someone who's into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or wants to know more, maybe share and get them to like and subscribe. If I hit 200 subscribers by the 10th week of this dollar cost averaging experiment, I will give all the money to charity. So what I'm saying is I will invest €100 into Bitcoin. If that Bitcoin is now worth 50, I will donate the equivalent of the Bitcoin equivalent, whatever the Bitcoin is worth then, to charity. If it's worth 200, I will donate to charity. So I'm going to keep the Bitcoin, but whatever that actual Bitcoin is worth in euro, I will donate to a charity. And maybe drop a comment as well and let me know, what charity you recommend I should actually donate that to. So if I hit 200 subscribers, I will donate the euro equivalent of that Bitcoin, whatever it's worth, to a charity. And maybe you can actually help me out by dropping those comments. Thanks very much. I'm going to go ahead and buy another €10 worth of Bitcoin now. Time for the Bitcoin news. Okay, the first article we're going to take a look at is by CoinDesk, and the headline reads, Bitcoin miners saw 11% revenue drop in September. So Bitcoin miners generated an estimated $328 million in revenue in September, down 11% from August, according to Coinmetrics data analyzed by CoinDesk. You have to remember as well, at the moment, miners are getting per block. Now, a block is mined approximately every 10 minutes. Per block, they're getting 6.25 Bitcoin. That is just fixed. And that's down since 12.5 since the halving in May. The next halving will be in 4 years' time, in just under 4 years' time in 2024. And it will be dropped down from 6.25 to 3.125. And that's Bitcoin per block. So the miners have no control over that. But if the price is increasing, if it's 20,000 per Bitcoin, that's 6.25 Bitcoins is now worth significantly more. So we have a look at this here. Revenue estimates assume miners sell their Bitcoin immediately, probably because they're paying off costs. They have hardware costs. They need the latest graphics cards to more efficiently mine the Bitcoin. They also need, there's massive electricity costs. So like any business, they have costs and they have to pay off their costs. So that's why they're selling. Now, if Bitcoin was worth, seriously higher, they'd be able to hodl some and then sell other to cover their costs. So yeah, this here, this isn't surprising that this headline, Bitcoin and miners saw 11% in revenue drop. That's just because the Bitcoin price was, 12,000 in August and it's dropped down to around 10.5 in September. Okay, the second article is by Forbes, and the headline reads, Serious warning issued over 300,000 Bitcoin stock-to-flow price model. So just in case you don't know, the stock-to-flow model shows a co-integration between price and scarcity and predicts a Bitcoin of $288,000 before the next halving in 2024. Now, this is a very unpopular opinion, but I don't agree with it. I do not think we're going to see a $300,000 Bitcoin in the next 4 years. I think $100,000 is a bit more realistic. And if you go back and watch my episode number 9, I'll leave a link there for you. I'll explain why in around 100,000. I give the exact price target and kind of a bit more, explain why I think that's more realistic. Yeah, but so look, we'll continue on with this article. There's a lot in it, but I just want to pick out the main bits here. So, the stock-to-flow pricing model created by anonymous Twitter user Plan B, who claims to be a Dutch institutional investor with a legal and quantitative finance background that manages around 100 billion in assets and tweets from the handle 100 trillion US dollars, calculates a ratio based on existing supply of an asset against how much is entering in circulation. Now, the whole model, this is the criticisms that were given out during the week by other analysts. So, the whole model rests on the wrong assumption that there is co-integration between price and scarcity, Kruger said, who explained without co-integration, it's nonsensical to think that Bitcoin stock to flow, a number that goes up programmatically and everybody knows that it will be at some point in time, can be used to predict price. So he thinks it's nonsensical because of this. The beauty of the model is that it's open-ended, said Kruger, who fears Plan B's stock-to-flow analysis will be used to convince people to invest in Bitcoin with the promise they can't lose their money. You can always keep pushing the deadline until you find out what you're looking for. This is something that I think that I've noticed a lot of people kind of in the crypto space and in the Bitcoin space and the Bitcoin influencer space, sometimes they're guilty of kicking the can. Like, I mean, I'm in Bitcoin since 2015. I've been researching since 2015. I first purchased Bitcoin or some Bitcoin in 2017. But what I noticed back in 2015, before I knew anything about TradingView or bulls and bears or buy orders or exchanges or miners or the halving, before I knew any of these terms and before I knew anything about Bitcoin, what I looked at was price, the same as a lot of people. And what I saw was every time I checked the price, it would go up. I noticed it would crash, but in general, it might be like 1,000, crash down to like 800 or something. I check again, it'd be like 1,500. It would crash down to 1,000, and it would sit it would kind of gradually hit lower, kind of higher highs. That's what attracted me to it. So look, sometimes people say, oh yeah, it's going to be 100,000, at the end of this year. And when it's not 100,000, they go, oh no, that's because of this, or they'll blame it on the pandemic or something, and then say like, oh look, it's actually next year. So, I mean, again, just go back and take a look at my episode number 9. I think it's bullish, but I think it's a fair prediction. And the third and final article for this episode that we're going to take a look at is by CoinDesk, and it's very bullish, and I think it's a great way to end the episode. Bitcoin sets record 63 straight days closing above $10,000. Just to note, this article is it's from September 29th. It's now October 4th, so you can add another 5 days onto that. So Bitcoin has been trading at $10,000 or higher for the last 68 days straight. It has wicked down a few times, but it has closed above $10,000 for 68 days. Now, you can forget about the technical analysis. You can forget about the on-chain analysis. If you're just concerned with price, this is the most bullish piece of news that I've seen all year. So we are normalizing a $10,000 Bitcoin. So this is what's going to happen. Like the first time Bitcoin hit $10,000, it was great. It made for very sensational, very bullish headlines. But we all knew it was probably going to crash down. And I'm not saying it's going to stay over $10,000 forever now. I'd love if it did, but I still think that CME gap, I wouldn't be surprised if it was closed, if Bitcoin even just wicked down and closed that gap or had a little crash. Definitely not saying that it's going to be over $10,000 all the time, but we are normalizing a $10,000 Bitcoin, and that is very, very bullish news, and that's where we're going to end this episode today. Okay, that's the end of this episode. So if you've made it this far and you're still watching right to the end, thank you very much. It really does help. Every time you like or subscribe or watch the video or even watching to the end, the watch time, it all goes into YouTube's algorithm and helps me grow the channel. Especially now that I'm doing this charity thing, every single subscription is very, very important. So if you've got any value or if you've liked the episode, you've got anything at all from it, please make sure to like and subscribe. And as usual, Shláinte. Bye.